Welcome to another week of Soap Secrets. Now, we left Holby with Cameron skulking around the basement. Victoria Wilson is joining me today. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Hannah.
Tell me more, because it's drama all the way at the moment, isn't it, in Holby?
Yes, definitely. Since obviously the return of Killer Cameron. So as you say, after there was lots of tension last week with Cameron kind of being all moody in the basement, and he was tracked down by Hanson and got hit by an ambulance. So it's just this massive cliffhanger. And so this week we follow on from that, and Dr. Death comes round from surgery, and he's shocked to find his late mother, Bernie Wolfe, is stood by his bedside.
Creepy.
Yep. Yeah. Bernie Wolfe, played by the wonderful Gemma Redgrave, is back from the dead.
I mean, stranger things have happened in soaps, I've got to say.
Yeah, that thing that soaps love to do for some reason. Anyway, yeah, she's back. She's there in glorious Technicolor. And so obviously, Cameron, he's just come out from surgery, so he's a bit dazed and confused. He thinks he's seeing things. He, as we say, he long thought she was dead, as we all did. And because the story went that his mum was sort of killed in an explosion while she was serving in the army abroad. So he's quite thrown, and the reunion isn't necessarily a happy one. Cameron's always felt he's never been quite able to sort of measure up to his mum, this first-class trauma surgeon. And his frustration sort of turns to anger. He's not angry enough already when he learns she's been alive for some time and never told him. So you could tell he's filled with rage, lots of sort of clenched fists. He's still chained to the bed because obviously he's a prisoner, and you can just see he's like really quite rattled by this. Sort of while they're having their sort of reunion and talking about old times and stuff, But Henrik sort of, he really wants to know what Cameron was up to when he disappeared from the hospital, when he faked his own death and disappeared from the hospital a few weeks back. But now we all know it's clear that sort of Cam has returned to exact revenge, I suppose, on the hospital that he sees as causing his downfall. So he literally drops the bombshell that he set an explosive device to detonate somewhere in the hospital, and it's going to go off in 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh! So, I mean, this is bad, but does it actually go off? I mean, can you tell us some more about what's going to happen? Because that is awful. There's going to be serious issues for the whole of Holby.
Well, when they have these kind of storylines, it's always a sum of parts. So this isn't, this bomb is not only going to affect like Cameron, his mum, and Hanson. There is obviously a full hospital with lots of other staff and lots of other patients. So as Hanson sets about evacuating swiftly and calmly, as only Hanson can do, there are several others already kind of facing certain jeopardy at the hospital. Ange and Josh they're sort of joined by Chloe, as this is the day that Ange, her unborn twins, are going to undergo a blood transfusion. And so their consultant turns up and the procedure's going ahead. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward procedure, and the story, it actually starts off quite light-hearted as we see sort of dad-to-be Josh. He's extremely nervous about the procedure, perhaps more nervous than Ange, even though she's the one who's going through it. And he keeps singing to try and calm his nerves. So it's you think it's quite a sweet storyline, but obviously this is Holby, and Ange soon develops complications and needs to have an emergency C-section.
How far along is she?
She's very pregnant.
Okay, so it's not the worst thing in the world to have an emergency C-section. I mean, obviously nobody wants that, but it's not. No,
the babies are viable, shall we say. One is just substantially smaller than the other.
Right, I see. Okay.
Blood transfusion. So she sort of is rushed in, obviously, for then emergency surgery. But if that's not bad enough, they then get the call that there's a bomb at the hospital that's about to go off. So you've now got there's now a very major situation there, and there is more.
How can there be more? How can there be more?
There is more. Elsewhere in the hospital, Jenny's kind of ramping up her campaign. But it seems, as with all these things, as we saw with Cameron, people do start to wise up eventually. Lucky, basically, she's got a very bad feeling about Jenny. She's very intuitive. And she kind of makes it her mission. She has done for a couple of weeks now. She's kind of onto her, and she wants to know what she's been up to, and she's determined to sort of uncover it. She can tell. She keeps seeing young Evie around the hospital, and she can tell that she's on edge around Jenny and really wants to help. She wants to know what's going on. Now, at first, Evie's reluctant to give anything away. Understandable, given the threats we know Jenny's made. But Evie soon feels Lucky in on everything, sort of everything. So, armed with that information, Lucky's then she thinks, okay, right, I need some hard evidence that she's certain will have Jenny banged to rights. So she goes snooping around her office. That always ends well. And she finds passports of young girls in Jenny's desk drawer and starts snapping away, taking photos, this, that and the other. And you think, oh man, she's got her. And the grim truth obviously dawns on Lucky as to what Jenny might be up to. But as we know, Jenny will stop at nothing to keep her dirty little secret. And she fights back, and Lucky is seriously injured.
Injured in a hospital where there's potentially no one to look after her.
Exactly. Of course, while all this is going on, the clock is counting down in the basement, and I guess we're all left wondering whether Hanson will be able to get everyone to safety in time.
Oh, God, what a cliffhanger. What a great week. I mean, what is Holby doing ending this series? I mean, this is madness.
Yeah, they've certainly ramped it up since, obviously, that announcement was made.
Yeah, they really have.
But, yeah, we'll be keen to see what next week has to offer. Obviously, I know, but I can't tell you.
No, don't say that. Don't want to know. Well, I do want to know, actually. Where will the day end? That is the question. Well, thank you, Victoria. That's absolutely brilliant. We will be back next week for some more Holby because, frankly, I want to know exactly what's happened. Now, though, we move to another hospital drama, Casualty. And Claire Ruck is here to talk to us about all things Casualty. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Hannah.
Okay, so again, lots going on. But first up, we see Stevie discovering that Jade was there the night that her sister Emma was hurt in the car crash, which was, nearly 5 years ago. It's a bit of a flashback, isn't it?
Yes. So I wanted to start with this one first of all before I got onto the really meaty bit, which is the really big bit. But this is still really important because Casualty came back with its flashback series in this new series, this new season. It had its first episode was a flashback when we see 5 years ago, and we see why Jade became a nurse, and we see Ethan making his error and we see it was Stevie's sister, Emma, that was impacted by Ethan's mistake. And now she doesn't have a very good quality of life. So Stevie's out for revenge on Ethan. But this week she's chatting to Jade, and Jade chats back about why she became a nurse. And this is when she has no idea Stevie is Emma's sister, and she's just sort of saying that she helped this woman who had been hit by a truck, and Stevie at that point thinks, wow, she was helping my sister because it was a gruesome crash. The truck swerved, went through the burger van, and Emma, Stevie's sister, was sitting in the car on the other side, and she got hit really badly by this massive truck. So it was a big accident, and this is where Jade admits that actually she had been messing around in the car with her boyfriend, and the lorry had to swerve them to avoid hitting them. So really, the accident was her fault, and what will Stevie do with this information? Because we know she wants revenge for what has happened to her sister. So it's quite a big week, I think, for Jade and Stevie's relationship.
Yeah, and like you say, what will Stevie do with the information? Because if she does want to seek revenge, it could be disastrous.
Yes.
Now, you talked about the meaty part, but we're going there now. It's fairly unmissable, right?
Yes, it's massively unmissable. Ever since we had the two-hander between Jacob and Tina about 6 weeks ago, this domestic abuse storyline is just been building and building. And this week it's front and centre again. And I didn't want to give this away when last time we spoke about it, but Tina attacked Jacob. She cut his leg very badly, and instead of, he's still in denial about it. And at that point, a couple of weeks ago, he actually proposed and asked her to marry him. So here we are now with Tina going to Bridezilla in organising the wedding. So we all know she's a bit unstable. She's more than a bit unstable. And this week, Jacob, he does a couple of things without telling her, not maliciously. He's not wrecking the wedding. Something came up and he said yes to it, and he just hadn't gotten around to telling her. And she goes off pop, absolutely off pop at him. She throws a stapler at him. She storms out of the office at work. And this is where we see how unstable she is, because she goes outside and she starts hitting her head on a brick wall. And I was quite shocked by this. And you can see she's really out of control emotionally. She's talking to herself, and obviously in hitting this wall she damages her forehead. She's given herself a wound. Well, people see this wound. Paramedic Ian sees this wound and says, "Oh gosh, Tina, are you all right?" Because that's what Ian does, and she kind of makes out that Jacob did it. So I was really quite shocked by that. Well, because she is an abuser, so she is protecting herself.
She's so unstable, though, isn't she, at this point?
Yes,
I mean,
she is.
we're really seeing it.
And when Ian chats to Jacob about it, he protects Tina and just says it was nothing. So, of course, at this point, it's looking like Jacob is the abuser within the relationship. However, later, Ian and Teddy are called to a house where neighbours have feared someone needs medical attention. And Ian, when he gets to the house, he realises it's Jacob's house, and that's when the whole ugly story comes out. It is shocking, Hannah. It was really shocking. Tina has attacked Jacob with a bottle. He has a massive wound sort of on his chest area, and he needs serious medical attention. Now, if you attack someone with a bottle in a pub, the police would be called and you would be arrested. But here, Jacob is still protecting Tina, and Ian, being a good friend, he takes him to St James's. He doesn't take him to Holby City, so that he doesn't have to face his work colleagues, and Ian sits there and says, he suddenly realises that actually Tina is the abuser in the relationship, not Jacob. And he's talking to him, he's trying to get through to him. And when Jacob tells Ian he isn't a victim, we know that this story has a way to run, because Jacob has yet to face the fact that he's in this abusive relationship and that Tina needs really serious help, I think.
The thing is that this storyline, I think, is really very good, because it highlights something that is just not spoken about enough. And I think the embarrassment that some men feel around the abuse being that way around, if you like, and not being able to stop it. But then also him caring so much for her that he doesn't want her to be in trouble for it. So I think they have done it really well. But I mean, it is, like you say, incredibly shocking. But I think if it brings to light, that there will be many men suffering, I'd imagine. Well, definitely. And it's just not highlighted in the same way as vice versa, is it?
Yeah, no, it's completely, especially because Tina's quite short and Jacob is like 6 foot. And, he's fit, he is embarrassed. I think he is ashamed. And he keeps saying he's not a victim. And it is difficult. It will be very difficult. It's very difficult for him. And then he does say to Ian, she makes me feel like I've never felt before. So on one side there is that love, but she is very violent and abusive as well. So
yeah, exactly. Wow, that is. I don't know. I mean, can we actually follow the leads with these 2 hospital dramas this week? They're absolutely banging. Well, look, next week we will be back, and hopefully with lots more gossip about that very bomb going off in Holby, and also in Casualty, what is going to happen between Jacob and Tina. But until then, have a great week, and we'll see you then.